57% of Houstonians want to leave Houston, according to a recent survey. And for my out-of-state friends, one of the reasons might completely surprise you. The city of Houston has a number of problems. In fact, the amount of people who have actually moved to Houston has decreased for the last 7 years, despite the amount of people who are moving to the Houston region almost daily. Everything from weather to politics is causing this mass exodus, so let's unpack this and talk about what's happening. Over 50% of people from that survey said that the number one reason they are considering relocating is the severe weather. Alarming as well as interesting is that this survey was taken before the derecho we had and before Hurricane Beryl hit, which left millions in the city without power for almost a week. According to the survey, what people are more frustrated with beyond the actual weather events is the reaction Houston typically has to these severe weather events. City is constantly on edge about a severe storm and how long they're going to lose power, or what's going to happen, that they panic and they buy everything in the grocery store. It's hard to find gas, it's hard to find food, and you're put out of work for a couple of days, and you more than likely are not going to have power for a few days at a time. Truly becomes a mess after every weather event, and it seems the more people are moving into Houston, the worse and worse these events and panic around the events becomes. And of course, people are extremely frustrated that our energy company CenterPoint has not been held accountable for our power grid, and the fact that millions of people are losing power for long, prolonged periods of time after any sort of weather event. Number two is the flooding and infrastructure issues that the city of Houston has. I suppose the city of Houston has tried, at least to some extent, to mitigate the flood risk efforts. However, it does not take much for the city of Houston to flood. It doesn't have to be a major weather event to experience some sort of flooding after a significant rainstorm. The city just wasn't built and planned properly, so anytime there's any sort of significant-ish rain event, the city ends up flooding. It's obviously extremely frustrating to locals, especially because it seems to happen every single time. And with the storms, homeowner expenses have risen substantially, especially in recent years. Because of the unpredictable weather here, insurance policies have risen quite a bit, or insurance policies are just canceling altogether. And then when you try to go find a new policy, it is significantly expensive. I'm talking thousands of dollars more a month. Also, people who are moving here are having a lot of issues getting insurance for a home, especially if the roof is a little bit older or the house itself has had previous flooding. And this isn't just residential insurance. Commercial insurance has risen quite a bit too. And couple that with losing power every other month for an extended amount of time, it's putting a lot of strain and stress on businesses here who are also extremely frustrated with the infrastructure of Houston. In fact, with this last storm, a class action lawsuit has started with restaurant business owners here in Houston against CenterPoint Energy for the unreliable power grid. Another common complaint on wanting to relocate is how crowded it has become here. I did say that the city of Houston has lost population the last 7 years, but the region of Houston and the surrounding counties have had such a major population increase, some areas as much as 50% in the last 5 years. That is substantial, and the amount of people coming here, the infrastructure still hasn't caught up to it, so there's a lot more traffic and congestion, and the prices have risen. The general consensus, especially from longtime Houstonians, is that they are very frustrated with the amount of people who have moved here in recent years. And so those people in particular are looking to move to somewhere that doesn't have as much population. Naturally, with all the people moving here in the last 5 years, the rent rates have gone up and the cost of living has substantially increased. And of course, purchasing a home is more expensive than it's ever been. That's not exclusive to Houston. The frustrating thing for Houstonians in particular is that so many people from more expensive markets like New York and LA and San Francisco have moved into the Houston market and have really made our housing and rental prices skyrocket very fast, that people who have lived here for a long time can no longer afford it the way they used to be. And so it's extremely frustrating, and Houstonians are now kind of thinking about going to a market where it's more affordable, such as people did when they came here. And one of the other popular reasons on that survey was the crime in the city of Houston. Surprisingly, it has actually gone down the last couple of years, but with the population increase, people feel like the crime has increased and that it's no longer feels as safe as it once did. Again, that's why a lot of people are moving out of the city of Houston and into the surrounding counties and regions, more out into the suburbs, where it doesn't feel as congested, there's not as much problem with flooding, and it feels less crowded and more spread out. If you are a local to Houston and you feel the same way, please drop down in the comments your reasons on considering a relocation. And if you are considering a relocation, are you thinking of the suburbs, or are you thinking of getting completely out of Texas? If you found this video helpful, I have an entire playlist all about the pros and cons of living in Houston, so make sure you check that out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.